In our top story tonight, Litro Gas Chairman Shalila Munasinghe was arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department today after $1.1 million of funds from the Far Eastern International Bank in Taiwan was discovered in his personal bank account. He is due to be produced before court tomorrow. Taiwanese authorities began investigating last week a hack of the Far Eastern International Bank through which $60 billion worth of funds were transferred to bank accounts in several countries including Sri Lanka. Another individual by the name of J.C. Namuni was arrested earlier when he attempted to access funds transferred from the Far Eastern International Bank.
After a new government was elected in early 2015, Litro Gas was vested under then Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake. Shalila Munasinghe was appointed as chairman of Litro Gas by Ravi Karunanayake when he was the finance minister.
There was a big uprising and an expression of views against a move by the ICTA in setting up a national payment platform in this country. What was pointed out at that time was that the attempt made by the people who planned that project wanted to bypass the regulatory authorities in this country and then entrust this work and the responsibility to arbitrarily selected private firms. It was pointed out very correctly that such a platform one day or the other will expand to the international arena and there will be transfers of monies from country to country, from this country to other countries. In other words, international swift money transactions were foreseen to be done through these platforms. As much as the technology is advancing, the fraudulent parts are also advancing. Therefore, it was very correctly pointed out that we should not make or leave open a system, a payment system to be operated in this country, becoming vulnerable to cyber attacks, interventions, interferences and fraudulent activities.
Hello there, welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Jitendra Gunasena. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Municipal councils, urban councils and Pradesh Sabha amendment bills passed in Parliament. Appropriations Bill for 2018 presented in Parliament. Highest expenditure allocated for Defence Ministry. Minister Arjuna Ranatunga tells Parliament there is no decision to increase fuel prices. Parliament heats up over North Korea sanctions. American Richard H. Taylor wins Nobel Prize in Economics.
Chief Opposition Whip and leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, Anura Kumar Dissanayake, questioned the government in Parliament today on its decision to impose sanctions on North Korea.
The government has decided to impose sanctions on North Korea. What were the reasons for this decision? What study was carried out to warrant this? This Parliament must be informed on the reasons why our country got involved in the international political matter. We were only informed by the media that such sanctions had been imposed.
Honourable Speaker, there is a Security Council resolution which requires us to pass sanctions against this country, North Korea. And actually we have been delaying it. We have been delaying it for a long time. And ultimately, if we hadn't passed these sanctions, we would have had to face repercussions from the Security Council.
What are the items imported from North Korea to Sri Lanka that will be banned? Is there a list of items that we export to North Korea?
No, you cannot ask questions in this way. Honourable Speaker, the Minister has answered. If you wish, you may ask for a debate and we will grant a debate. No, ask for a debate and we will allow it.
While I was speaking, the mic was switched on. However, as soon as he stood to interrupt, the mic switched off. Is the button for the mic at his seat? Honourable Speaker, I asked that I be given time until my question is completed. What are you doing? Why are you not allowing my question? He can be agitated if he wishes when questions are asked about the Kandy Highway. Be agitated when we ask questions about Saitam. You can be agitated when questions are asked about construction of highways.
The appropriations bill containing the state's estimated expenditure and revenue for 2018 was tabled in Parliament today. This is the first step in the budget procedure in Parliament.
වැඩබලන මුදල් ඇමති ගරු එරාන් වික්‍රමරත්න මැතිතුමා විසර්ජන
කතානායකතුමනි 2018 මුදල් වර්ෂය සඳහා විසර්ජන පනත් කෙටුම්පත මම ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
According to the appropriations bill tabled by State Minister Iran Vikramaratne today, the state's estimated total expenditure for 2018 amounts to 3,982 billion rupees. This represents an increase of 46% or 1,259 billion rupees in comparison with the previous year. Total state revenue for 2018 has been estimated at 2,175 billion rupees, which will result in the government having to seek external and domestic loans to the tune of 1,807 billion rupees in order to cover the budget deficit. The largest segment of state expenditure will be on the defence sector, with 290.7 billion rupees being allocated for the Defence Ministry. A sum of 227.57 billion rupees has been allocated for the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media, while 182.75 billion rupees has been allocated for the Ministry of Higher Education and Highways. The allocation for the Ministry of Education amounts to 102.88 billion rupees. A sum of 178.39 billion rupees has been allocated for the Ministry of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine. 9.98 billion rupees has been allocated for the President, while 1.77 billion rupees has been allocated for the Prime Minister. The second reading of the appropriations bill, or the budget speech, detailing the government's expenditure proposals, expected revenue streams and the manner in which the deficit will be covered, will take place on the 9th of November.
Subject Minister Arjuna Ranatunga said in Parliament today that there are no plans to increase the price of fuel. The minister was responding to questions posed by the opposition.
There's a report in the newspapers on a fuel price hike. Has the government decided to increase the prices of diesel, petrol and other fuel? As of today, the Petroleum Corporation has not made a decision to increase prices. On the 22nd of January, we reduced the prices of 92-octane petrol by 33 rupees from 150 rupees to 117 rupees. The price of auto diesel was reduced by 16 rupees from 111 rupees to 95 rupees. The price of kerosene was reduced by 37 rupees from 81 rupees to 44 rupees. During the budget debate, I will inform you of the losses caused to the corporation as a result of the concessions given to the public. A pricing formula for fuel has been discussed for several years now, given the fluctuations in the global oil prices.
The three draft bills on municipal councils, urban councils and Pradesh Sabha were adopted in Parliament today, removing another barrier in the path to the long-awaited local government elections.
In other local stories, the constitutional reforms continue to be hotly debated. Attorney at law Krishmal Varnasurya weighed into the debate on Newsline this morning.
Yeah. Now there are several very interesting provisions that have been suggested by the subcommittee on judiciary, subcommittee on fundamental rights, very advanced provisions that we can take from the rest of the world, such as retirements of judges, how to create independence of judges, all of that. Now none of that is reflected in the interim report. You follow? So then my question is, what have happened to them? What happened to those suggestions by the 6 subcommittees?
Stay tuned for more news on the other side of this.
The American citizen infamously known as Mr. 10%, who packed his bags and fled the country after the January 8th election, Basil Rajapaksa, expressed these views during an event held yesterday.
Frequencies which determine transmissions have been given to one company. We'll build the Lotus Tower in order to ensure that our communication network will be unaffected even during a tsunami. However, these frequencies have also been given to the Maharaj organization in an underhand deal.
Dear Mr. Basil Rajapaksa, have you forgotten about helping Hambantota, which you escaped from narrowly? You surround yourself with people and make statements like a common thug? Have you forgotten the manner in which you packed your bags and fled to America when your brother lost the election? Have you forgotten that Minister Vijit Vijayamuni revealed to the nation that you cost Mahinda Rajapaksa his seat and abandoned both the people and other public representatives? We clearly remember many things that perhaps you have forgotten. We have not forgotten the allegations levelled at you regarding a luxurious palace in Malwana and tractors from India and the dairy cows that were to be distributed amongst poor farmers. Have you forgotten the nickname Mr. 10%? Have you forgotten the computer Jilmart? You crossed over to the UNP from the SLFP, then jumped ship again from the UNP to the SLFP, and now you have jumped ship to the port tour. Members of your own family called you Vadaberry Basil or useless Basil. Many people say that Basil Rajapaksa sullied the Rajapaksa name in politics. Members of the joint opposition are openly stating that they are fed up of you. Just because one adorns himself with religious amulets, he is not pardoned by the gods for past sins. Mr. Basil, did you actually travel to Jaffna for religious reasons? Or was it to gain cheap political mileage? The people of the North, as well as the people of the South, know full well about your opportunistic brand of politics. You point a finger at us just because a bootlicking advisor writes something for you. However, we will never forget the mistreatment we suffered when you were in power. We built a state-of-the-art studio complex in Depanama in order to secure the people's right to information. It was burned to the ground at a time when you were in an air-conditioned room in Temple Trees. You rant about the tsunami, and yet you chose to tour affected areas in helicopters while Sirasa was on the ground with the people. Thanks to former Chief Justice Sarathan Silva, everyone in the country knows what happened to the funds that were in helping Hambantota at the time of the disaster. We remember how the first female Chief Justice of the country, who blocked your efforts to steal public funds through Divinaguma, was sent home in a matter of hours after a kangaroo trial. The country is still trying to untangle the mess that was caused by the delimitation process. Mr. Basil Rajapaksa, these are but a few examples. You should keep in mind that when you point one finger, four are pointing right back at you. We will speak separately about the text messages you sent us and the dinners you attended to say thank you in the aftermath of the January 8th election. You have been rejected by the people. The allegations of shamelessly stealing from everyone, even poverty-stricken dairy farmers and Samurdhi beneficiaries, are embedded in the minds of the Sri Lankan people. Time will judge your place in history. Please, return to the country of your citizenship, America, before the people reject you for a second consecutive time.
The conduct of Employees' Provident Fund in purchasing government securities in the secondary market has cost the state a significant benefit. This was revealed at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today. Zulfiq Farzan reports on Bondgate.
The cross-examination of former governor of the central bank Arjuna Mahendan continued today as well. Today it was suggested to him that the Employees' Provident Fund, rather than making bids and purchasing bonds at the primary auction, had resorted to purchase the very bonds on offer at the secondary market from other market parties. It was suggested that if the Employees' Provident Fund had not purchased those bonds in the secondary market and actually purchased the bonds at the primary auction, they would have made a better profit. Deputy Solicitor General Milinda Gunithilaka said the government would have had the benefit if the EPF purchased government securities directly at the primary auction and not the secondary market. Milinda Gunithilaka pointed out at times the Employees' Provident Fund had sold bonds at a lower price and purchased them back at a higher price. Some of them were to perpetual treasuries, which used Pan Asia Banking Corporation as an intermediary. On Friday, former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendan said he was in possession of a confidential IMF report which recognized unidentified government liabilities of over 1 trillion for 2014. The Attorney General's Department said not a single IMF report or statement for 2015 indicated any such liability. Mahendran went on to say the Treasury Secretary had from time to time been presented with unpaid and unexpected bills after the mini-budget in early 2015. The Aegis Department said if the Treasury Secretary wanted more funding, it should definitely reflect in the cash flow statements. Senior State Counsel Shahida Bawis said the central bank was compelled to print more money, partly because of the abrupt decision taken by Mahendran as governor to suspend direct placements, and he should be responsible for that. However, Mahendran said as the government of Sri Lanka was borrowing heavily at the time, the markets had pushed the interest rates higher. The Attorney General's department said the supervision mechanism of raising public debt was in complete limbo during Mahendran's tenure until the supervision of the Public Debt Department was moved under the Department of Supervision of Non-Bank Financial Institutions. Mahendran said moving from a hybrid system to an auction-only system was a simple matter that did not require extensive discussions. However, it was mentioned to him that the Monetary Board at present has ruled a full auction system was not suitable for Sri Lankan market, and it had extensive discussions with the US Treasury and the World Bank on the matter. It is worth remembering, on the 17th of March 2015, addressing Parliament on the bond issue, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe made the following statement.
I insisted on a public auction because private placements have led to corruption and lack of transparency.
The Monetary Board has moved to a hybrid system during the past month, and this comprises of a series of phases. Accordingly, bids at reasonable yield rates will be accepted, which will be followed by a voluntary volume-based bidding process for the excess requirement of the PDD.
The Socialist Alliance convened a media briefing in Colombo today at which General Secretary Raja Kollure commented on the budget presented in Parliament today.
The situation with the cost of living is extremely grievous at present. Inflation was at 3.8% in January 2015. In August this year, inflation has increased to 9.3%. I must mention a few points on the budget. The estimated budget deficit is 1,807 billion rupees. It is expected that the government will seek to cover the deficit by taxing the people. This budget will not grant any relief.
Recently, in relation to the bond scam, the heads of People's Bank, the Bank of Ceylon and the National Savings Bank revealed that they bid low on the instructions of the Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake. These are state-owned banks. The majority of the public, the labourers and the farmers deposit their savings with these banks. The loss has been caused to the ordinary people. Lalit Veeratunga was imprisoned for distributing silkcloth. Given that this was identified as a loss to the public, I asked the government, what about these financial institutions? The heads of these banks have directly fulfilled political wishes. They must resign and a system must be introduced to recover the losses from their private accounts.
The Speaker and the official opposition have got together and have turned Parliament into a political toilet. They say that the sins of the former government will have to be paid even through this budget. I asked them, which budget will pay for the sins of the bond scam? Ranil Wickremesinghe has gotten it all muddled up in his head and is saying that we will be paying for the debts of the former government until 2025. At the same meeting, he says that we will be paying these debts for another 2 generations. 2 generations amounts to approximately 120 years. The Prime Minister's mentality has fallen to a level where he cannot tell the sum of 2020 and 120. Today, Colombo High Court Judge R. Gurusinghe ordered the hearing of evidence in the case against 3 defendants, including Dr. Nalaka Godaheva, the former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, to commence on the 11th of December. The Colombo High Court judge ordered witnesses for the prosecution to appear in court on the 11th of December and granted permission for Dr. Nalaka Godaheva to travel to Australia from the 1st to the 20th of November. The judge ordered that the defendant's passport, which has been impounded by the court, be released temporarily. The case has been filed on 3 charges, including criminal misappropriation of funds as a result of 5 million rupees which was disbursed by the Securities and Exchange Commission to the Tarunyata Hetak movement, being credited to the account of Ceylon Premier Sports Limited. The defendants in this case are former SEC Chairman Dr. Nalaka Godaheva, former Deputy Director General of the SEC Dhammika Pereira, and the Sports Director of the Tarunyata Hetak organisation Ronnie Ibrahim, who was also a Director of Ceylon Premier Sports Limited.
Cartoonist Asanga Ladwehetty gives us his interpretation of tonight's illustrated news.
And with that, we're going for a short commercial break. Stay with News First. We'll be right back. President Maithripala Sirisena said today, any government circular should not be a reason to delay public services. The President made this statement at the 143rd celebration of the World Post Day, which was held at the Buddhi Mandapaya in Polonnaruwa. The new stamp, souvenir and the first day cover issued to mark the 143rd celebration of the World Post Day were presented to the President. The e-commerce website was launched by President Sirisena. The President presented the felicitation awards and certificates to the postal workers and handed over new bicycles to 8,500 postmen working for the Postal Department. Vans and minicabs worth 325 million rupees were also handed over to strengthen the postal service. The Postmaster General spoke about certain issues at the Postal Department when working with trade unions and the issues which crop up regarding circulars of the Postal and Railways Department of 2006. So we can discuss these matters and resolve them if there are any issues. It is important that measures be taken in a way that circulars will not be a reason for the delay or ineffective public service. If circulars are a reason for services being ineffective and inefficient, talks should be held to resolve them. President Maithripala Sirisena laid the foundation stone for the postal complex to be built in Polonnaruwa at a cost of 307 million rupees.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe began his official visit to Finland today. He met with representatives of the Finnish business community.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was invited to a luncheon at Team Finland House in Helsinki today, where he met with representatives of the state-owned financing company Finnvera, the Nordic Investment Bank and the leading technology company Autotech. The representatives of these companies made submissions on investments and projects that can be undertaken in Sri Lanka to encourage rapid development. The Prime Minister's attention was also drawn to drinking water projects undertaken by Autotech in Sri Lanka since 1990. A delegation including Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe and the Secretary to the Prime Minister Saman Ekanayake is accompanying the Premier on this state visit.
Various issues have emerged concerning the construction of the second phase of the Central Expressway. Homes and lands which will be removed for its construction have not been paid proper compensation is one of the allegations. News First met with the locals of the Kehel Henawatta Meerigama area who raised these allegations.
42 lands inclusive of houses in the Kehel Henawatta village in Meerigama will be acquired by the government for the construction of the second phase of the Central Expressway. Even though estimates were carried out on these matters, locals charge the estimates have not been implemented accordingly. On Tuesday, many of these villagers received compensation in cheques. The villagers claim the cheque indicates a much lower sum of money as compensation than it was estimated previously.
When the expressway was being constructed, they came and held meetings with us and promised they would pay the compensation in full. But as these activities go ahead, it appears that the compensation is not according to what it was promised. They are dragging the people onto the streets. This impact assessment report says the minimum of 120,000 rupees should be paid per perch in the Meerigam area and the maximum is 200,000. This is the gap, but this isn't the amount that has been paid. After they acquire these lands, they make their own estimates. The value of this market drops. Not a cent is paid for a coconut tree. We have been asked to vacate our homes. We are ready to leave tomorrow morning if we are paid a fair compensation.
The locals say construction on the second phase of the Central Expressway could create more issues.
There's a massive water project in the Pallavar area. The construction is being done on land which causes all the villages to flood. A proper assessment report has not been done. A country must develop to construct an expressway. But this mechanism they are following is wrong. No environment report has been compiled. They have been covered up. No compensation scheme is in place.
Minister Kirialla, for your attention.
The 8th International Maritime Conference, the Galle Dialogue, was held in Colombo today. The theme of this year's Galle Dialogue, which will conclude tomorrow, is maritime blindness.
The conference was attended by former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, commanders of the Tri-Forces, Inspector General of Police, diplomats and foreign dignitaries from 51 countries and 12 organizations.
As an island state, Sri Lanka's maritime well-being has been vital throughout the nation's history. A peaceful, tranquil and secure Indian Ocean is essential to its prosperity. It is prudent that we continue to recognize this fact and not make the error of slipping into a state of complacency, leading to maritime blindness, meaning that we apply our total consciousness and intellect in how we deal with issues as they develop in this part of the world. The maritime domain presents a broad array of potential targets that fits terrorist operational objectives in achieving high shock value and catastrophic scale attack. This gathering will acknowledge that the basis for effective deterrence is awareness and knowledge of the threat, along with the capability of interdiction.
The Indian Ocean and its affairs play a vital role in today's global interactions. In today's context, one of the most important sea lanes of communications, as well as sea lanes of trade, runs just south of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's strategic location in the Indian Ocean indeed gives us enormous strength to forge ahead with confidence. We have identified the huge potential that is vested in the seas around us. The potential is more than capable of taking Sri Lanka forward into the future. It will be our key to achieving sustainable development.
The Constitution provides the bedrock on which a republic is founded.
Sri Lanka is currently undergoing a process of constitutional reform. Will this come to fruition? Will it resolve conflicts and heal old wounds? And above all, will it bring good governance to our republic?
These are the questions that will be asked on Face the Nation tonight, coming up right after the news.
Right now, we leave you with the completed illustration of tonight's news from cartoonist Asanga Ladweheti.